Hello, all, and welcome to episode 9 of the Mindbreeze podcast, Illuminating Information. Today we have on a very special guest, Moyse. Ian has led growth in technology from spanning several decades, and for the last 16 or so years, has focused on cloud and emerging disruptive technologies. He's called upon as an advisor, influencer by many leading brands such as SAP, Oracle, Intel, Mitel, and more. So, Ian, thank you very much for joining us.
Jeremy, pleasure, and look forward to the conversation.
Great. So, if you don't mind, let's dive right into the first question here. So, I know you have spoken often about the importance of data to a business. So, can you expand on this?
Sure. Yeah. I've been around in business a long time, and data's always been there. I think it's richer than it's ever been before today. And using data is nothing new. It's become critical in today's world of immediacy. We live in a world where everyone wants everything yesterday, and we're all more informed than ever. We live in a more complex and speedier world of business engagements. And customers' expectations are at higher levels than they've ever been before. And that includes me, you, and everyone listening. So it's essential to utilize and provide access to the value from data in a business across the organization. And there's a growing number of reasons for that. And I could probably talk for an hour on this. I know we haven't got that, but think of things such as informed decision making. Data-driven decisions is a phrase we often hear. Not gut feel, not arming yourself to get the most predictable outcome that the business is aiming for based on foundational decisions that are the smartest they could possibly be. You're informed. Competitive advantage. Who doesn't need that in an ever competitive world? And every study that I've ever read, I'm sure you have as well, all the stats that come out and data that come out from the analyst groups, etc., points to and shows that organizations that are data-driven and make data-driven decisions outperform those that do not invest in this area considerably and consistently. Efficiencies, productivity, utilization of resources and skills in an organization, when, where, and how to best bring savings and advantages is based on having that data information at your fingertips at every point of the organization that needs it, the relevant data to the relevant people at the relevant time. Think about mitigating risks, from financial, from security purposes, and compliance and regulatory needs. It's important to know what's going on, to have information to be able to mitigate those risks, because they can be devastating to a business's bottom lines. The other things we spoke about there are the top line. And one other, I guess I'll mention, is thinking about the simplest one to quickly get is personalization, targeted marketing. The more you know about your customers in every engagement point you have with them, the more personalized, the more accurate that engagement can be, and that changes the interaction and the success of that relationship with a customer. Hopefully that gives you some thoughts around that. There's a lot more we could cover.
Yeah, so of course there's some challenges involved. So I want to get your thoughts on what challenges have you seen businesses having in utilizing their internal data to gain an edge?
Yeah, it's a good point. Because once you've got data, it's not always easy. And I've been in many organizations working in them where, and I'm sure those listening will pick up on this and relate to this, where there's lots of data, but you can't see the wood for the trees, and data that conflicts and presents itself. And there's two meetings and two people who've looked at data from different sources in different ways and have different conclusions, but both could argue that they're right. So I think there's a number of challenges. One is bringing the data together from different disparate sources. We call them data silos. And if you think about where we are today, it's things like internal databases, the applications data, and we've got a plethora of data sources from both on-premise and cloud, and sometimes legacy applications, particularly on-premise, which are hard to get data out of in the format you want. Then you've got to look at how do you turn that data, and I've talked about this many a time, turning data into information, and then turning information into insights that mean something that you can action against, that tell you something about your customer or your business or your process. Those are the things that enable you to make those smart business decisions and take actionable choices. You've got to add to that things such as then you've got the data volume, and there's more data created every day. We know, we hear all the stats around this, more data created every day than the past year and this sort of thing. There's such a volume of data. So there's a complexity in dealing with it, particularly when, as I spoke about, legacy applications and unstructured data. Because what's key is if you're going to use data to take it through this path to then make decisions, is data quality and accuracy. And underlying all of that, and I mentioned it, I think a second ago, is security. We live in a world of cyber attack. We live in a world of regulation and GDPR in Europe, and a world where data is gold, not just to you, but to your outside source, your competitor, your attacker. So, you've got to have a data strategy. You've got to invest in the right data technology and find a way to then present the value from the data, those insights, to the right user across your business, the right user at the right time in an understandable and accessible manner. If not, you've just got a lot of data.
Yeah. So to touch on, so there's obviously a lot of market hype around, large language models, specifically ChatGPT. So how do businesses or how should businesses approach data in light of these?
Yeah, isn't there a lot of hype around those? And we do the wave of hype around such things, as we've seen before. So, emergence of these, in a way, it's in itself, they validate the need for handling data, big data, information, as I've just been discussing. But it's key that you understand and think about the capabilities and limitations of tools such as this. So when you look at LLM, large language models, and falling into the acronyms that we all do, it needs high quality and relevant data in the first place. It needs a security model around it, because you're not going to take your critical data and just plug it into anything out there based on the world that we now live in. And you need skills to utilize these tools. That's the biggie, I think. I've across my career, too often I've witnessed a new technology that promises the world. Cloud computing fell into that in the early days. Hailed out as out of the box savior. It's going to transform and do everything. It's really easy. It's easy to procure it, but to get the value and the results wanted, the path and journey was not as simple as customers expected. And I think that's what we're living today with data. There's a lot of ways and a lot of hype around, as you mentioned, some of these generic terms and things like ChatGPT that are wowing everyone. But it's not a simple decision just to choose something like that. How do you utilize it to get the outcome you want in your business? How do you embed it and use it in a secure manner? And that's one that's concerning a lot of people. Or do you look at solutions such as Mindbreeze, where you can unlock the value of the enterprise data in accurate and secure manners, but without that worry of it's something out there in the public domain?
Yeah, so I'd also love to get your thoughts on tools that many businesses, already have, such as SharePoint and Azure Cognitive Search.
Yeah, this is another one, I guess, I've lived over the years where in engagement with customers across any technology that I've been involved with, that there's always a lot of tick box options that an organization can apply. And I've heard that many times before where, what I'll get told is, well, but we already have something that does that from XYZ vendor. It's that tick box. Yeah, we've got something on the shelf. We've got something here. But that's not really the question. The question's of the business. Are you getting the outcomes and the value you expect to need? Are you getting the competitive advantage? Are your users and or customers better served? The fact you got a piece of technology isn't the relevant conversation. We've all had tons of stuff, and a lot of the bigger vendors who bundle bits in, etc. They're not necessarily the right tool because you didn't select it. You didn't go out and look at the outcome you wanted and work backwards to how do we deliver this. You ended up with a tool that was handed to you on a plate, and you're now trying to fit often that round peg into the square hole. So I think it's the wrong way to approach it. The fact that, well, we've just got something, so that's that ticked. And we also need to think about the how do you get that valuable insight to everyone across an organization in an understandable and easy to access fashion? And that's not what these tools are always designed to do. Often they're a data tool that enables you to combine some data, and somebody who really knows what they're doing can access it. But how do you present it in a usable, informative fashion to anyone in the business? Because you don't give all the data to everyone, right? So it's the right information to the right people at the right time. And if you do that, you get a massive compounding effect to the success of the individual, the team, and the business. And the journey to get there, I don't think is a tick box exercise. I think if you just use those off the shelf options that you may have, it can often be a long, bumpy road. The destination doesn't get reached, or it gets reached so far in the future that your opportunity has been missed along the way.
So to wrap things up here, I think, people want to hear maybe about some of the real world, business use cases and, thoughts you have on this. So which area of business do you think a new, stronger data approach that you have described can best, serve and bring value to?
Yeah, I think this can be answered, I guess, in quite a broad fashion, but then I'll give a couple of examples. So broadly, it's can affect any part of an organization, both internal and external customers, depending how you take away those silos of data, combine them, and how you present it up to give business value. So let me give an example. So take insightful data from a business and turn it across customer service, automating either that agents have better information at their fingertips instantly to be able to serve a customer, or to self-serve for customers, giving them more faster, accurate information, right? Because it's not about just giving them, pointing a customer to a manual. What they want is, I'm asking a question, I want the most accurate, insightful answer that I can understand to solve my problem or inquiry fast. That's what we all want, right? When we engage with a supplier, a B2B supplier, whether I'm a customer of a commercial retail organization, whatever I'm asking, I'm looking for something. Can you provide the right information to the right person at the right time, which I think I've already stated. And that's true of an external customer or an internal customer. That empowers them, that then delights them in terms of customer engagement. So you're therefore taking your data that might be coming from however many systems, that client, internal or external, doesn't care. All I care about is, am I getting an answer that solves my request or problem? And do I get it fast and easy? Or am I having to climb a mountain and I'm given a manual where hang on a minute, that's not helping me. That's not taking data. That's giving me all the data in effect, right? It's not taking data and turning it into information, insight, action, as I spoke about earlier. So it's about providing customers, employees with all the information they need speedily, accurately. And that will affect, if you get this right, it's not rocket science to see how, that will align and affect the top and bottom line of your business, depending which area you're coming from. And this spans industries. There's some industry, give a couple of examples. If you think of the likes of retail, pharmaceuticals, aviation, etc., sectors where they have large volumes of data, lots of complex engagements with customers, markets that continue to change and are driven by high competitiveness, and they have an imperative need for highly secure handling of their data. How are they going to do it? It's not easy. Let's be frank, it's not easy. They need to choose and partner with the right organizations and tools that are going to enable them to take the data from all these sources, remove the silosation, I don't know if that's such a word, but remove the silos, combine the data in a smart manner, turn that data into information and insights, and then present it, not in bulk, but present the right insights to the right people at the right time in a format that is understandable, easy to interface with, and empowers them to be better at what they're doing. Long answer, I guess, to a short question, but hopefully that gives you some thought.
No, we love the description here. So, Ian, it's been a pleasure. I mean, I surely learned a lot. I'm sure our listeners did too. So I just want to thank you once more for joining us. It's been a pleasure to listen to you, and Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. Really appreciate your time.